What's up, everybody? Welcome another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on Rotogrinders. I am Justin Van Zuiden. We'll be hosting the show as usual, aka STL Cardinals 84 in the DFS streets. Coming off a fun week last week at the Northern Trust, and it was definitely an interesting tournament. Great to see Tony Finau take it down. I have to give Noto some credit. He helped talk me onto Finau last week during the show. So that was nice. And I would have been super frustrated to completely miss that boat. So had an outright ticket on him and a pretty good week at DFS as well. And was really sweating the big GPP there on DraftKings up until Monday afternoon. Didn't quite take that down, but was still a pretty wild sweat and a fun tournament there last week. I know a lot of the pros don't like Liberty National, but even with all the rain, pretty impressive that they were able to get through that final round on Monday. So we didn't know much of anything for the BMW Championship here until Tuesday because the last week's event, was needed to be determined to get the field for this week. So a little bit of a scramble getting things ready to go this week, but we've got salaries, we've got lineup HQ tools up and running at Rotogrinders, and we're ready to do the show here with you tonight. So I will bring in my co-host, Mr. Derek Farnsworth, aka Notorious. Noto, what's going on?
Not much. First off, huge congrats to you. Nearly took down the 250K, but would you end up finishing, fourth or fifth?
Fifth, I believe.
Yeah. So that's still a big payday. Congrats on the Finau outright. Yeah, I think you probably owe Wiley some credit too. He offered to have a baby with Tony Finau, and the decreasing baby swag or diminishing returns of the baby swag. We got to keep that in mind for future picks.
I laughed at when someone followed up there on Twitter that would be his 15th child. After I forgot last week's show was so wild, I kind of forgot about that part of it there afterwards. But fun tournament. Congrats to Finau. A little bit shocking to see John Rahm let that one slip away there towards the end, but Finau and Cam Smith capitalized, and Finau ends up getting the W there. So it was just a crazy event, and I know you like to make one main lineup. How'd that work for you last week?
Yeah, it was good. I ended up getting 6 of 6 and had Finau in it. The rest of the team was pretty bad, but it was good enough to carry me to 3x or so, and then also had Finau outright. So yeah, pretty good week for me. And the chat's already talking about the guess the golfer segment. I mean, first we had Norlander, withdrew before it started, and then last week, who was it last week?
Matt Wallace, one round, and he withdrew because he was 1,000 over par.
Yeah, so we decided I'm not in charge of making the pick this week, and I was telling Devin we should name it Surmise Noto's Demise segment because my picks have been terrible for that.
Noto said he was off all the guys that I suggested, so that means we're in the clear. That we got a good pick for you. I guess I'm on the hook this week if it's a clunker. So we'll get to that in a little while with our favorite values. Probably won't be a full hour here with you tonight. We've only got 69 golfers, I believe, in the field. The full 70 that qualified, minus Patrick Reed, who has an ankle injury and then also has pneumonia. And has been in the hospital. So, hope he gets better. Not necessarily the worst absence in terms of my DFS play because I never get him right anyway. So we will be without Patrick Reed. The rest of the top 70 will be in the field at the BMW Championship. And other takeaways from the event last week for you?
Just so awesome to see Finau finally get it done. Cam Smith tied it up there, I think, on 17, and Finau was in the bunker, hit it to 6 feet. I was just waiting for that putt to miss and then for him to lose by 1 and for the storylines to continue. So, and he did it done, and he took the round over. I mean, 65, shot the lowest round of anyone on the day, and a little bit surprising to see Rahm kind of falter there at the end. I think that short drivable par 4 kind of got him the last 3 rounds. He ended up par, double, par when everyone else was just making birdies on that hole. Then I saw a tweet. I think he led 63 or 67 holes of the 72 and won. And then at the U.S. Open, he only led 2 holes and won. So just goes to show you, golf's crazy. You're always in it. And yeah, big congrats to Finau. We've been playing him forever. And I think we're almost halfway back to even.
I posted I was only down 80% lifetime. And that was my tweet. In my tweet, I said, now I'm only down 80% lifetime. And somebody said, well, you must be down double on him because you know, that's what people like to bet Finau. I'm like, I literally said that in the tweet. I'm not denying. Probably still down on Finau overall. It's not 80%, but it was nice to see him get that done and finally be able to not have to answer questions about that all the time like he does. So good for him. And now he takes over the FedEx Cup points lead because the playoff points format's a little bit wonky, and so he just jumps all the way up to the lead. But that's another story for another day. So also Keith Mitchell birdied the last 3 holes. He needed all 3 of them, birdied the last 3 to make it through. So he's on house money this week. Keith Mitchell is after that 3 birdie streak to finish the round, including on a couple tough holes there at the end. So that was the other thing that I noticed from that final round. All right, we've got the BMW this week. This tournament changes venues all the time. So we've got, I believe, Caves Valley Golf Course in Owings Mills, Maryland, as the host course this week. And this has never been used as a PGA Tour event. It's hosted some junior events, some amateur events way back. It's been a while even for that. So basically everybody getting a fresh look at this and not having as much time to prepare with last week's tournament bleeding over into Monday. Lee Westwood was very unhappy about that, and I'm sure some other guys were as well. But what do we know about this course this week that everyone's going to get to see for the first time?
Yeah, so on paper, it seems like it should be a fairly difficult course, but that's not what we're hearing at all. Everyone kind of seems to be saying it's a birdie fest. Even the course superintendent said he expected this course to be really low and that you want to be aggressive on this course, both off the tee and with your approach shots. So overall, 7,500 yards, 4 par 5s, all between 550 and 600 yards. And then the par 4s are kind of interesting. You have 3 short ones, less than 370. So I got to imagine a couple of days, those will be drivable. And then 6 par 4s over 450. So interesting mix of holes. All of the par 3s are over 190 yards. So I'm expecting a lot of long iron shots. Bent grass greens. The greens here are pretty small. The fairways are very narrow. They're more narrow than Harbor Town, than Torrey Pines, some of the more narrow courses on tour. So be interesting to see if the rough plays a factor at all. But for the most part, I'm looking at bombers. I'm looking at birdie makers. No cut this week. So it's a good week to both take chances. And I think it's a good week to fade the chalk as well. It's a new course, and, everyone's kind of just gravitating to the few guys like they do every week. So I think it's a good week to get a little bit different.
Yeah, and with getting 4 rounds from everybody, kind of mitigates some of that risk of taking some of those chances, but also lends itself to the viability of some stars and scrubs builds, since you can take a shot on some of that 6K value. So really interesting to see that this is projected to play so easy. I mean, it's a 7,500 yard course. You mentioned the fairways being narrow. It says they've grown the rough out to 4 inches in some spots. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just, and guys haven't seen it before, so it's not like they're going to know how to read all the greens and all that.
And we thought the same thing last year at this event, Olympia Fields. And
which the winning score was what, 4 or 5 under?
Yeah, it was like a major. So I'm kind of in line with you. Don't really think we should peg a certain, type of player just based on the winning score.
Yeah, and everybody's playing the same course, so it'll work its way out in the end. But interesting for those that might want to bet, winning score markets. It's gonna be pretty hard to peg this week. So we'll see if they get to 20 under again like they did last week. But all right, let's go ahead and start breaking it down. Again, only 69 golfers in the field. Probably won't take us as long as usual to get through this. And we don't have Wiley making offers or giving out promo codes to help kill a little bit more time tonight, but that's all right. We'll get through it. And I mentioned that stars and scrubs builds are more viable because you're getting 4 rounds from everybody. So I guess we can discuss Rahm by himself. I mean, he finishes 3rd, 18 under par, and you feel like he he screwed up, that he choked. And, it's probably not fair, but it just goes to show you the expectations that everybody has for Jon Rahm at this point. Where his last 4 starts, third, seventh, first. He had a couple positive COVID tests in there. Would have won the Memorial, but had to withdraw from that with one of those positive COVID tests. If you include that, where his game log on DraftKings says he missed the cut, but he didn't. He was going to run away with that tournament. If you include him winning that theoretically, or finishing in the top 5, whatever, that'd be 6 top 10s, 6 top 8s in a row heading up to this event. I mean, really, we haven't seen this kind of steady play at the top for a long time now. I mean, it's kind of been little stretches from DJ maybe about a year ago, Rory, but Rahm's is right up there with anything that we've seen over the last 5 or 6 years for sure. So what do we do with him? I mean, the value is there and easy to get in this week. So if you're building one lineup or you're playing cash games this week, or, do you have to get Rahm in there at the top?
I don't know. I don't think you have to. I think he deserves to be the number one guy for sure. And yeah, you mentioned it, the DJ run last fall, maybe the Rory run last spring before, the pandemic. Both those guys were just on a tear, but Rahm seems a little bit more extended than that. Last 11 events, he's got 9 top 9s, which is just crazy worldwide. And you mentioned it. He just doesn't have a weakness. He's always there. He's hit fairways. He's long off the tee. Irons have really improved this year, and we know about the short game. So I think he deserves to be number one. I'm going to have a bunch in MME. Naturally, I like to be more balanced in single entry, so I'll probably not use him. But if I was telling somebody to play the safest play on the board, it would be Rahm for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's interesting because you can look at the builds with him and a low end play, or 2 9K ish plays. I as of now kind of lean towards the Rahm build, but it is pretty close. And then after that, you've got Schauffele. His price is up there at 11-1. Decent week last week, but a second round 62, no other rounds in the 60s. So it was a little bit strange from him. And then Spieth ejecting on the final round with a 79. He's up there at 10-8. And then we've got Justin Thomas finally had a pretty good week. We got DJ, who has been really frustrating. Been on a lot of cut lines lately when he's been popular. Missed the cut by a stroke or 2 here last week. And then Koepka, still question marks with him. And there's kind of rumblings of Morikawa being a little bit banged up. So that's part of the reason why I think, starting with Rahm makes sense, because I think there's question marks with a lot of the other 10K guys. To where either you're starting in the 9s or you're getting up to Rahm in a single entry build. Like, not that I don't like some of these guys, but I don't think there's anybody between 10K and 11, that you have to have. So you got anybody in there?
Yeah, it's a great point. I agree 100%. I think starting with Rahm or starting with, 2 or 3 guys in the 9K range makes a little more sense. A lot of the guys in the 9K range we've seen be, 10K plus for most of the season. Yeah, Bryson, Rory, Cantlay, even Louis. So yeah, I like the idea of starting in the 9s. But if I am, picking one guy up there, I like JT quite a bit. He gained 7.9 strokes ball striking last week, and he went back to his old putter. I think it was from college. Somebody, made a joke, if he's putting so bad, he should go back to the putter he used to putt with, and he did it. And he finally looked pretty good on the greens. So I like that. If he can keep it in play off the tee, I think he's going to be interesting. Kind of with you. DJ's been frustrating. I had a ton of speed last week, so that was terrible. He lost 6 strokes off the tee. One of the worst ever in his career. So hard to see him, contending if he's going to be in trouble off the tee again. Xander's consistent. He's fine. Brooks is interesting, though. He's kind of been just lingering, I would say, and then kind of ejecting. He kind of ejected on Sunday, too. But I think he's a guy that could win. Probably not going to garner a ton of ownership. And just a guy that doesn't rate out well in models. But I think he could be interesting.
Yeah, don't mind him in GPPs. Otherwise, Justin Thomas is my favorite as well. Koepka and DJ, maybe if you're looking to get a little different in GPPs. Worried a little bit about Morikawa. Definitely off Spieth this week after that performance off the tee last week. So Thomas, And then Pga DJ, interesting tournament options, I think, this week. All right, let's go ahead and move into the 9K range. And you just mentioned him, so I want to start with Bryson because there was all the talk about the fans getting in his head and whatever they want to chant and shout. We've all read this, and he's blown off the media and all this stuff. The caddy change, lots of stuff that's been going on with Bryson over the past month that hasn't been exactly endearing. But yet, played pretty steady last week, made 25 birdies and an eagle, just made a few too many bogeys. I think it was the first round where he only made 2 pars the whole round, and the rest were birdies or bogeys for 16 holes, which plays well for fantasy scoring. I mean, he had 90 fantasy points despite finishing 31st. But you look at the layout of this course, and you kind of alluded to it earlier. There's a lot of long par fours where he could have wedges coming in. There's a couple shorter par fours that could potentially be more drivable for him than others. And all of the par fives are under 600 yards. So this feels like a course where the layout of it is one that Bryson could take advantage of with his length. And that makes him an interesting option, I think, in the 9Ks. Of course, you got last week's winner, Finau, in here as well. Rory, as cheap as we've seen him in a long time, at 9,400. You've got Cantlay, you've got Hovland, you've got Berger in here too. And then, of course, Oosthuizen back this week, and Cam Smith, who was in the playoff last week. So to your point, lots of guys to where you could start a lineup in the 9Ks and feel pretty good about it. So how do you break that down? And particularly first, I guess we can talk about your thoughts on how the course translates to Bryson's game.
Yeah, I mean, just the description of the course with the narrow fairways, sort of thick rough, really long. It kind of reminds me of when he won the U.S. Open and just kind of ran away with it. Obviously, it's going to be a lot easier than that course was. But yeah, bombs it off the tee. He did gain 8 strokes ball striking last week, in addition to those 25 birdies that you mentioned. So I like him quite a bit. He opened at 35-1 on DraftKings, and that just got hammered. It was down to 25-1 in like an hour. So I wish I would have gotten on that, but yeah, I think he's certainly interesting. I like starting lineups with him. Did you hear he's entering the long drive competition?
I saw that.
So who knows what's in his head right now? He's probably more volatile than a lot of these guys. I think Cantlay's a lot safer. I think Hovland's a lot safer. I think for single entry, those would be 2 guys I would look at for sure. MME, I do like Bryson quite a bit. You mentioned Rory. He kind of struggled last week, lost 4 strokes on approach, which is one of his worst in a long time, but I'll take the discount with him as well. Then the guys at the top, do you have any interest? I mean, we've seen guys get hot in the playoffs. Do you think Finau can keep it going? Got the monkey off his back. Nobody's going to play him. And it's basically 7,500 yard bent grass greens, exact same as last week.
I think it's crazy if he's only 5% owned.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I get the narrative about, but if anything, it's liberating for him. And I don't think he's the type that's going to just rest on it. And I mean, he's the FedEx Cup points leader now. And you get a 2-stroke lead at the new format of the Tour Championship. Like, it behooves him to try to stay up as high as he can. And try to keep that lead heading into next week. And you look, we got Finau at 5%. We've got Rory at 20. That's a quarter of the ownership. And like, if they played this tournament 4 times, yeah, I think Finau beats it, more than once. So you're 2 out of 5 times at least, or something like that. So yeah, he'll be in my player pool for sure at 5%. Like, I'm with you. I usually don't like to play last week's winner, but at that ownership with his game and the way it fits this course, I can't just. And he did me right last week too, so I can't just let it go.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm gonna have some too, and I think this is the one time to play guys coming off the win, because they still have so much motivation. If anything, now they're going for the 15 million, or what is it, 20 million now?
I don't know. It's a lot of million.
It's a lot of million, and he's got a lot of kids, so he needs some money. I think Louis is interesting. He should be well rested, as long as the neck wasn't bothering him. So I like Louis quite a bit. And then Cam Smith, I mean, he just seems like he's overpriced. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't play him this week, I don't think. And kind of you could tell he's pretty dejected after hitting that tee shot OB in the playoff. Or maybe it's just a little Last week was so wild. I had Reed. Of course, I had Reed in my GPP pool last week. And we've got time, so I can tell the story. And so I woke up, as I always do, 30 minutes before lock, and I see that Reed has withdrawn. So I go, great. I got to figure out what to do with Reed in all these lineups. And I don't particularly want to redo them all and rebuild them and redo my script and all that. So usually you just look for the global swap. So the easiest global swap was Cam Smith or Adam Scott, and because I didn't have either of them in my player pool. So I global swapped all of my Reed to Cam Smith. And then I thought, well, I've still got 25 minutes. Maybe I shouldn't be lazy. I kind of like Hideki at like 8% ownership. So I redid all my lineups and I got, I almost won the GPP with Hideki. And Cam Smith, in theory, was the guy that could have been in there with my global swap. Now, I don't know if I wouldn't even have that same lineup because I reran my whole script. It's hard to say how it, shook out, but it was just so wild that originally I global swapped everything to Smith and then reworked it to get Hideki, and then Hideki ended up being on that good team. But I might not have even had that build at all in my original 75. So that's what I'm going to tell myself. Otherwise, like if I took that same lineup and put Cam Smith in there instead of Hideki, I would have won by like 50 points. But I don't think I would have had that same build. So anyway, I went from no Cam Smith to like 30% Cam Smith back to no Cam Smith in the 20 minutes before lock last week. So I don't know. Because of that, I'm not playing him this week. I know that's not great logic.
Yeah, that's one of those things you don't want to know the answer to. I think it helped you, obviously. You wouldn't have that build, so yeah.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't have had the same lineup with Cam Smith instead of Hideki. So.
And I'm funny like that. If I run a script of lineups, I'd try not to change it unless there's an injury or something, because you could swap off the good one. You'll never know. It's just funny.
Yeah, and all the contests were full, so it's not like I could enter both of them. But my laziness of getting Hideki in there, and it's Hideki obviously got outplayed by Cam Smith, but still probably netted me more in the end. But weird how DFS works sometimes, and I'd rather not have it to be making these swaps and changes at 5:30 in the morning for 1 week. 2 weeks ago it was Norlander, but I just global swapped him that week, and then last week it was Reed. And then we had our guest the golfer pick, Matt Wallace, withdraw after one round. So we're due for a week of none of that garbage happening this week. We'll see if we can get lucky there. All right, other 9Ks. Hovland was another guy that ejected. I can't remember if you said this or not. I got sidetracked, but Hovland was another guy that kind of ejected.
He broke his putter, so I'm not holding that against him.
Pulling the Keith Mitchell from a couple months ago. So he's interesting, but I think we've kind of covered most of that. Let's go ahead and move to the high.
What are you doing with Berger?
I don't know, as the kind of the name that was sitting there looking at me right now. He made a 45-footer from off the green to make the cut last week, which annoyed me because I had him originally last week, and then when I saw that he was going to be the highest owned guy in the field, I ended up coming off. That didn't burn me. I mean, he finished 56th and did nothing on the weekend, but I don't know, like 9K, it feels like a little much, and I don't know. I don't have a strong take on Berger. Like, he's not going to be as chalky as he was last week. How do you think he fits the course? So I guess we got him at 15%, so still fairly popular.
I mean, so I didn't play him last week for the same reason I probably won't play him this week. Going to be popular, and compared to his baseline, much better on shorter courses. Compared to his baseline, much better on Bermuda courses. I like playing him and Webb together. I don't know. I think I'm going to be off if the 15% holds.
Yeah, I'll probably end up there too. Because I like Scheffler at 8,900. I like Connors. I like Webb. So I think there's plenty of options. Like, I think the 8K range is pretty loaded this week. So, yeah, Scheffler, Connors, Webb, Sam Burns is going to be somewhat popular. So who's your favorite out of that 8K group?
I like Scheffler as well. T43 doesn't look great on paper, but 5.3 strokes ball striking last week. We talked about it last week. He just plays so well in the big events. So I like him quite a bit. Answer, the form just, predictably fell off after his win. He said he didn't touch a club in 10 days or whatever, leading up to last week's event. So I don't hate him to bounce back here. And then Connors, just 11 strokes ball striking last week's event. It's just going to come down to the short game. And I think I'm willing to take a chance on the bad putters, and we'll get to some of them here in a minute.
Yeah, I wrote exactly that. Like this week, short prep time, profiles as a ball striker's course. Nobody's seen these greens before. Like that gives at least a little bit of an edge to the mediocre putters because, they're going to be mediocre putters no matter where they are. And, the good putters haven't really had as much time to, to prep and get the greens figured out. So, yeah, the ball strikers that are bad putters, both of us back on board this week. So I like Connors as well.
I think the smaller greens help too. Not going to have as many long putts, hopefully.
Not as many 60 or 70 footers. See quite a few of those last week, quite a few long putts. Getting those lagged up to the right spots helped for a lot of guys that were at the top there. Other 8K options, let's see. So it looks like you've got Casey tagged up in there. Like, is this a spot where you might look to get, say, 2 or 3 guys from this range as part of that balance build?
I don't love the 8Ks. I mean, I like Scheffler, I like Casey. And other than that, I don't love the range. But I do like Casey. Did you see his stats from last week?
I did earlier. I don't, let me find him.
So yeah, he finished 264. He gained 9 strokes ball striking, which was top 10 in the field.
At the bottom in putting?
He lost 10.1 with putting and around the green.
That's not great.
Not good.
Spots with Connors for the week.
So clearly this is the regression week.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty cheap too. Harris English, we always, he's been a talked about guy here this year. He's had some really high finishes. He's also been pretty chalky the last couple of months. So we've got 15% ownership on Harris English right now. I was kind of off of him last week being chalky, and probably going to do the same again this week, I guess.
Yeah, don't love English, don't love Burns. Playing him at 8K in a stacked field seems bad. And then, I mean, Niemann, I keep waiting for him to, have some big finishes, but he's got one of the lowest, top 10, top 5 rates of anybody in the 8K range. So I'll probably be off of him as well. Sung Jae's interesting. His irons have been really good lately, even though I typically think of him like Berger, where you want to play him on those shorter Bermuda tracks.
Yeah, Niemann, where did Niemann finish up? He had a pretty good week. Was he just outside the top 10?
T47.
Oh, really?
He was another one of my guys in my main lineup that just fell apart.
Oh, he moved up on Saturday, got a 65. I think that got him around the top 15 or so, but I shot over par on the final round. I didn't realize he shot that bad in the final round to knock him down there a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I like the guys that I mentioned in that range. I suppose it's not quite as deep as some of the others, but Scheffler, Connors, Simpson. I like Burns a little bit better than Noto does. Casey. I'm okay with Niemann at that price. I think he's pretty safe. So I think you can mix and match those guys a little bit if you're multi-entering. Get some of them in your GPP builds. All right, let's go ahead and move into the 7Ks. We've got Shane Lowry's been playing some pretty consistent golf. You look at his last, his last 5 worldwide starts: 23rd, 12th, 22nd, 23rd, 11th. So 5 straight top 25s, but none of them are top 10s. But they've come in some pretty strong field events, and it's pretty consistent golf. So we got Lowry there at 7,900. We've got plenty of good ball strikers and bad putters in this range. If you want to take a shot on Keegan Bradley or Sergio or somebody like that, get the feeling that maybe this is where Noto's headed with his bad putter argument. So Keegan Bradley or Sergio, which one is it for you this week?
Well, I was going to write both up, and I saw you had Keegan tagged.
Yes.
So I went with Sergio as my write-up, as my conviction play. So he had an 8 on his first hole on Thursday, and then he doubled, I think, his 4th or 5th hole. So he was 6 over after 5 holes, and then played the rest of the 2 days, 5 under par, nearly made the cut. Prior to that, he had top 26 finishes in 6 straight events worldwide. And you mentioned it, the great ball striking. So I'm on board there. Keegan, kind of the same argument. He's much better putter on bent grass. He's also underrated around the green. So I think he's interesting. And then I like the Lowry call. Yeah, he's been on fire recently. The irons have been really good. He's just bad off the tee. So if he can get that together, I think he's interesting. And I mean, this should be a perfect fit for Jason Kokrak, but he's been so bad lately. What are you doing with him?
Yeah, I don't mind him. I mean, if the ownership gets pretty high, I don't mind the fade, but he did make 12 birdies in 2 rounds last week, and he made 8 bogeys and 2 doubles. So he was all over the place. 18 birdies and bogeys and 14 pars. Um, just odd, or actually 20, excuse me, birdies and bogeys. Just strange, but I guess that was the nature of that course. And so he wasn't too far off. I mean, he's 2 strokes outside the cut line. Yeah, he is a good fit for the course. We've got him under 10% this week. I wouldn't play him in a single entry or anything, but I'll keep him in my multi-entry builds.
Agreed. What about Kevin Na and EVR?
So
I'm out.
EVR was part of the reason I didn't end up taking that GPP down last week, thanks to the
Ooh.
quad on that par 3, which ended up costing him the all 4 under 70 bonus and knocking him back a few positions. But that bias aside, that I'm a little bit spurned by last week, he's been playing some solid golf. I mean, you look at the full season numbers, they aren't that great, but he won the Barracuda. He followed that up. He made the cut at the Wyndham, made 21 birdies in that event, and then 7th last week. And he was in the mix really there. He was in the final group on the final round. So the form is pretty solid, and no cut event. He's made at least 20 birdies in 3 straight events. So I think I'm in on EVR. Probably out on Kevin Na, but that's because I never play him really. So I don't
So
really have a strong take on him.
yeah, they both lost strokes ball striking last week and both finished top 10. Just crazy. Kevin Na, that's kind of typical. EVR, that scares me a little.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, he was pretty wild on Sunday. And I didn't look at the individual round numbers for Sunday. But I'd imagine his tee to green numbers on Sunday or I guess it was Monday, were bad. He was all over the place in that final round. It was a round probably should have been worse than it was. He had a shot to 3 feet on the par 5 and made an eagle. But otherwise he was everywhere, and it was not comfortable watching with the sweat on the line for sure.
You
Especially
got
the
to roll
quad.
with him though. He got you there almost.
Yeah, no, I mean the eagle was huge and still finished inside the top 10. So it was a nice recovery after that 7 on the par 3. I mean, I think you can take some shots down here. Guys like Varner, McNeely's been playing okay. I noticed, first thing I noticed when I looked at our numbers in lineup HQ is that it looks like your metrics really like Hoffman at 7K this week.
Yeah, they do, and they really liked him last week, and I faded him because he hadn't played. He played once in 7 weeks, and he missed the cut at the Open, so I was worried about rust. Played pretty good. T21, I think he was in the 6K range last week, so I'll probably play some Hoffman this week. I like the McNeely call. Top 30s in 6 straight events, historically better on longer courses. And then my model hates Cam Champ because he's been bad forever, but he's been playing some good golf. The ball striking's been good. Last 4 starts, T27, T31, a win, and T11. And you don't have to worry about him missing the cut. So I think Cam Champ is a little interesting, even though my model tells me otherwise.
You got to override it, right? Override those inputs a little bit. Yeah, I have gotten him wrong most of this year. I played him a little bit too early. Yeah, he won at the 3M, finished 11th at the John Deere. I played him at the Rocket Mortgage where he shot a second round 77 and then said that was enough for a while. And then he went 11th and win right after that. So thanks for that, Mr. Champ. I was a couple weeks too early, but that's all right. That's the way it goes. Noren's been playing pretty well too. He had a pretty good result there last week. Tringali always a little bit popular, steady finishes. I just don't know if that's what we're looking for in a no cut event. With the playoffs like that, the 35th place steady finish of Tringali or Harmon or guys like that. Just, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that's what we should be going for in a no cut event.
Yep, I agree. That's kind of why I'm a little lower on Neiman. He's like a guy that makes every single cut, but and then he always pops and then kind of falls apart. But yeah, I agree with you. Harmon, Strillman, Vegas is interesting. I said Vegas right this week. He missed the cut on the number, I think, last week, and it was just the putter. He'd been playing some pretty good golf before that.
Yeah, 15th, 16th, 2nd, 11th, his 4 events prior to that. So don't mind that call too. He always tends to be kind of a boomer bust golfer, and that's kind of what we are looking for here. So all right, a couple of things. We'll go through maybe 2 or 3 little housekeeping items here. We're going to get to our guest the golfer segment in just a second. So I guess it becomes one of my favorite golfers under 7K. That's not going to be super chalky since Noto abstained from the voting this week. So you can start throwing your guesses in there. Free week of Rotogrinders Premium for the winner. Hopefully we get a new face in there. We'll see. We'll limit it to 2 guesses per person and see where it goes. If you are interested in subscribing to Rotogrinders Premium, if you don't win the contest, you can select specific sports to sign up for, or you can do the combo package, which includes basically everything except NASCAR. Huge with football coming up, college football ramping up starting this weekend already, which is crazy. And Devin will drop the link in the YouTube chat to get you $10 off your first month if you are interested in signing up for a single sport or combo package or build your own type of premium package. So do that. And then we've also got our prize picks promo. I believe I did the quick math on this right before we came on the air. I think Noto, you and I both missed last week thanks to Neiman. But that's okay. We'll get back on track this week. And I know Noto's got the no overs in his this week. I took an over in mine, but what are you looking at this week?
Yeah, so I actually went 0 for 3 last week.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well,
so,
I think I went 1 for 3.
So here's the trick. You bet my 3 that I like, and then you bet against them, and then you can't lose.
There you go.
So this week, I like Cantlay under 18.5. I think he's steady. I like Hovland for the same reasons. And then Paul Casey, this was all with the short game last week why he struggled. So under 23.5 for him. Hovland under 20.5. Cantlay under 18.5.
I went with Justin Thomas under 15.5, Rory under 18.5, and those are pretty inflated numbers for them. And then Cam Smith over 18.5, same number as Rory, seems a little strange. And just after last weekend, short turnaround to this week, and I'm a little jaded by missing out on him last week. So over it is on Cam Smith. Check it out, prizepicks.com, or you can download their app and use promo code Grinders to get 100% deposit bonus up to $100 on your first deposit. So check out Prize Picks, check out Rotogrinders Premium, and I will check out our Guess the Golfer segment. I have been focusing on those. Let's see if we got a winner yet. Let's see. Somebody guessed HV3. I like him. I think he's interesting. Somebody asked if Finau had another baby since Monday. Yes, that was Wiley's promise from last week. Mike Campbell asking if the value golfer is going to play more than 1 round this week. That's the hope. That's the goal. And also voting that we don't have the segment anymore. That's fair. But again, it can't go worse. Or you could just not play the guy that we pick and
auto fade.
But nobody's going to guess it. They've coordinated a protest of the Guess the Golfer segment in the chat. So well played there. But all right. Well, before we get there, we'll go ahead and move along. We're on different guys down here, which and this could be the range that makes or breaks the week with a lot of those stars and scrubs or balanced builds. Either way, you're probably maybe going with one guy in the 6Ks. We've got Keith Mitchell as the chalk right now, which seems weird to me on this course and on bent grass, but so I don't think I'm going to go there. Although he is on house money after birdieing the last 3 to make it last week. But I don't know. Interesting range here. Who you liking in the 6Ks?
Yeah, I agree on Mitchell. If he's going to be anywhere close to double digits, I'll take my chances with the fade. I like Taylor Gooch. Played a little bit of him last week. The irons have been really good. 20 strokes on approach over his last 5. Pretty good putter as well. I think he's interesting. And then who else did I have here? Cam Davis. He's a guy that just makes a lot of birdies. Hasn't been in the best of form recently, but He's making cuts even after his win. He's made 4 straight cuts, so I like him. And then I like a little bit of Mark Leishman. None of his stats are going to point to him, but from 175 to 200 and from 200 plus, he's third in this field. So if you're going to be a lot of long iron shots, especially from the rough, because he can't hit a fairway, he'll be interesting.
Our guesses so far: Charlie Hoffman. We already talked about him. He's in the 7. He's at 7K exactly. So we both like him. He's not the winner of the contest, but do like him a good bit. Not Grace, not Wise, not Homa, though it does look like he's going to carry some ownership as well. You got any strong preference on Homa this week?
The model likes him. He's been playing decent. He is a boomer bust guy. He's got a lot of top 10s this year, so I like him, but the ownership's pretty high.
Yeah, I like, taking some shots on guys that can make some birdies that are going to be lower owned down here. Ryan Palmer, his last 5 events, miscut 4th, miscut 26, miscut. So it's been a little hit or miss for him, but he's 6,400. Guys like that. I mean, you don't have to play a bunch of guys down here, but Schwartzel, super popular a few weeks ago, burned everybody. Missed the cut last week too. So now Schwartzel, who was like 12% owned 2 weeks ago, is going to be about 2% this week. Guys like that can be the difference makers in the GPPs this week. So, yeah, Cam Davis was going to be the other guy I was going to throw out to Noto. So he would have been the one guy we agreed upon in here, but I excluded him from the conversation of the Guess the Golfer segment because he's going to have some ownership. So, but I like him as well. Grillo is in my GPP pool. That's another one of them that you just kind of never know what you're going to get. Missed the cut last week, but only by a stroke. So I don't mind him. Bad putters unite with Grillo. He can be part of that team with Keegan and those guys and Connors. So, but you're probably not going super crazy down here. I mean, I'm only going to have maybe 4 or 5 guys. And as far as, Mike's asking, there is no cut. Why do we care if a guy has missed 8 cuts in a row? Well, that, goes to.
You can lose a lot of points if in 4 rounds of bad golf.
Yeah. I mean, there's no cut, but if they're languishing towards the bottom, you're probably not winning a GPP with somebody that's finishing 65th. So it's all kind of relative there. But anybody else that you like that we haven't mentioned yet?
A couple other notes. Not sure they'll make my player pool, but Hudson Swafford, last 2 weeks gained 13 and 6 strokes ball striking. So he's in some pretty good form. And then last 24 rounds, Aaron Wise is 8th in birdie or better in the entire field. So guy that makes a lot of birdies and also can't putt. So it kind of fits the mold that we're looking for.
All right. Well, we've pretty much wrapped it up. Executive decision on my part. We're going to make Emiliano Grillo the Guess the Golfer because he was the only guy that was guessed. That was in the original few that I had put out there before the show, and I think that was a pretty good guess for a low-owned value. The actual guy that we had chosen was Kazire, or I guess I had chosen, and nobody guessed him. But Tate, congratulations, you're the winner. Free week of Rotogrinders Premium. Devin will hook you up. Pivot from Kazire to Grillo, and then that way, if Kazire only gets 1 round in, then we know it was the curse of the segment again. This week, we'll see. We can play that, spin that however we want now that there was a pivot last minute. But yeah, should be a lot of fun. We've gone almost a little over 45 minutes here, so that's pretty good for a 2-man booth and a 70 golfer field this week. Tour Championship is next week. We'll take that event off with only 30 golfers. We will have our usual content over at Rotogrinders. So if you're a member, you can see the first look and all the stuff that we put out there for free. If you're a premium subscriber, you will have all our usual content, written content, but we will pass on the show next week with only 30 golfers, and then we'll be back. There are 2 full field events in September, so we'll be here for those with the Ryder Cup sandwiched in between. So it'll be a couple weeks off, and we'll be back with you in September as the new season kicks off. Enjoy the BMW and the Tour Championship. Best of luck in all your contests. And for our producer, Devin, working hard as always behind the scenes for you. And for Noto, I am Justin. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.